It's officially spring, and even if the weather isn't behaving very spring-like, we are going to manifest some spring-like weather with a fun little Hello Spring flower design today. So I'm starting out with my Happy Dotting Company soapstone pencil, and I'm going to create some kind of offset tulips. That's what we're aiming for here. So it's kind of starting with a loopy line down, and then you're going to curve these sides in and then create a little pointed center in the middle of each of the flowers. Then I'm going to take some white gesso and just fill in the flowers to give them a nice base coat and something for the paint to adhere to, because we're going to use mostly pastel colors, and so this helps give us a nice opaque coverage and just makes the colors really pop well. So it's just a nice base coat. It also helps when you have a really smooth rock. This one's pretty normal, but sometimes the Mexican beach pebbles that I use sometimes are almost slick on the rock surface. And so this has slightly a rough texture to it when it gets on there, so it gives something really nice for the paint to grip to. We're going to use a nice little selection, a little rainbow selection of pastel paints. But first, I'm going to take a darker version of each of those colors to fill in that little pointy part in the center of the flower. So a darker blue, darker pink, darker yellow, darker green, and darker purple. And that's just kind of so that stands out in contrast against the more pastel color that we're going to use to fill in the rest of the flower. So now I'm just going to go through and start filling in the flowers with the various pastel colors. And this design, it was inspired by kind of some, I guess you'd call it home decor stuff. Like, you know, when you walk into Michael's, the craft store, and usually right in front they have seasonal stuff. So if it's Christmas, they have that. If it's Easter, if it's Valentine's, whatever, they have the seasonal stuff kind of right up there in the front of the store. And right after Valentine's Day, when they kind of switched into spring and Easter stuff, I was kind of perusing in there, and they had this little, kind of like a tabletop something or other, I guess, some kind of home decor. You'd put it on a shelf or, you know, a desk at your job or something, and it just had these cute little rainbow flowers, and it said Hello Spring. And so we're just going to kind of make a twist on it, because it was kind of like stacked boxes, I guess, of wood kind of painted, but we're going to make this like it's growing out of the grass instead. But I just thought it was a really cute idea to kind of welcome spring in. We haven't had a ton of snow for our winter, but we've definitely had a whole lot of cold weather that is seeming to persist at the moment. If I took a picture outside right now, it's cloudy and trying to drizzle out there, and it is cold. And I know I keep saying I'm ready for more snow because we didn't get enough snow, but I think I'm coming around. I'm ready for some sunshine. I'm loving the longer days. So I think it's time to let winter go, and winter needs to let go too. Now I'm going to take my Tule Art paint pen. This is a fine tip paint pen, and it's green, obviously. And I'm going to use this just because it's easy to manipulate to do the stem and the leaves on these tulips. I'm not sure my tulips look so tulipy, but we're going with it. They look like flowers, that's definitely clear, so we're just going with it. So I'm going to create the stems and the leaves and then just kind of color them in with the pen because it's easy to use and hold, and I just didn't feel like getting out green paint. So maybe it was a bit of laziness this time. Now we're going to take a nice dark green and a nice light green and a fine line paintbrush and create the blades of grass that our flowers are growing out of. I'm going to start with the dark green and just brush on lines. I did speed this up so we wouldn't be here all day, but just painting on those lines and going all the way across the rock, and then don't wait for the paint to dry and get immediately into the brighter green and do the same thing. And you can do a couple layers of this until you're happy with how it's turning out, but it creates a really nice, both a blend and kind of a distinction where you can see that dimension in the blades of grass. You can lift the rock up and make sure it goes all the way down around the edge like I'm doing here, but just, you kind of can't mess it up. And even if you feel like you've messed it up, you can go back with one color or the other or both as you need to until you have it looking the way you want. come in with this super fine nail art brush and do the same thing but more along the upper edge to really create that fine look of the blades of grass. I used this same brush, I think in a Christmas design, to create a fuzzy look around the white part of a Christmas stocking. So that's kind of what I'm doing again, and I'm kind of dragging it down to bring some more dimension into the taller blades of grass, but this is to create those really fine lines on the upper part of the design. Next, I'm going to take my Posca PC1MR white paint pen, and I'm going to write the letters for hello across all of our tulips. So HELLO, and then I'm going to come back through and kind of thicken them up because I realized that the white wasn't showing as crisply as I thought it would on some of the colors, especially that yellow, because they're both really light colors. So I'm thickening it up so that it's nice and visible. Then I'm going to come down into those blades of grass and I'm going to write the word spring, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to thicken up the letters so that they pop out of the grass nice and thick. And part of my solution to the white lettering being a little bit lost in the pastel colors on the flowers is I'm going to come back through with some Folk Art Extreme Hologram glitter paint and a dotting tool, and I'm going to add that to the letters, both the hello and the spring, so that I can get some sparkle and pop, so it's kind of dual purpose. You guys know I love my sparkle, so it kind of gets added in no matter what, but it's also going to help those stand out. And I also realized that this design, it wasn't popping super much off this rock because the rock was kind of light, but I know from when I washed the rock that when the resin gets on the rock, it's going to darken up and the design is going to pop off the rock really pretty, especially like the stems and the leaves look really light here, but as soon as that resin gets on there, you're going to see the design pop. I also felt like there was a little bit of extra space at the top of the rock, so I took the dotting tool and the hologram glitter paint and I created a few hearts kind of floating, I guess, in the sky, just to kind of unify the whole design so it didn't feel like there was empty space at the top of the rock. And this rock is so shiny with the resin on it that you can see my reflection trying to film this in the rock, so it really, really came out pretty once the resin got on there. I hope you're enjoying some warm weather in your neck of the woods and that you're ready for spring. Thank you so much for stopping by to watch, and I'll see you next time. Take care.